As we sit together in the quietness this morning, let our minds think and feel their way into our own lives and many of the searching aspects of our own experiences. As we look at our lives, we are again and again impressed with the fact that there seems to be great stretches of barrenness, of fruitlessness in the things that we dream about achieving, the things that we want and often that we will to do. There is a fallow time for the spirit of man when the soil is barren because of sheer exhaustion. The fallow time may come unannounced like an overnight visitor passing through. It may be sudden as a sharp turn on an unfamiliar road. It may come at the end of a long, long period of strenuous effort in handling some slippery in and out temptation that fails to follow a particular pattern. It may result from the plateau of tragedy that quietly wore away the growing edge of alertness until nothing was left but the exhausted roots of aliveness. The general climate of social unrest, of national and international turmoil, the falling of kingdoms, the constant muted suffering of hungry men and starving women and children on the other sides of the oceans, all these things may so paralyze normal responses to life that a blight settles over the spirit, leaving all the fields of interest withered and parched. It is quite possible that spreading oneself so thin with too much going to and fro has yielded a fever of activity that saps all energy, even from one's surplus store, and we must stop for the quiet replenishing of an empty cupboard. Perhaps too much anxiety, a too hard trying, a searching strain to do by one's self what can never be done that way, has made one's spirit seem like a water tap whose washer is worn out from too much constant pressure. But with all, there may be the simplest possible explanation for our barrenness. The rhythmic ebb and flow of one's powers. Simply this, and nothing more. The waxing and waning, the ebbing and flowing, the rhythmic pulse beat of life. Whatever may be the reasons, one has to deal with the fact of one's barrenness. Face it, and then resolutely dig out the dead roots. Clear the ground, but don't forget to make a humus pit against the time when some young or feeble plants will need stimulation from past flowerings in your garden. Work out new designs by dreaming daring dreams and great and creative planning. This one may do during the fallow time. The time is not wasted. The time must not be wasted. The time of fallowness is a time of rest and restoration, of filling up and replenishing. It is the moment when the meaning of all things can be searched out, tracked down, and made to yield the secret of living. Thank God for the fallow time, the time of waning, the time of ebbing, as preparation for the time of waxing, for the time of flowing. The contradictions of experience are very baffling after all. Moments of transcending beauty covered over by spattering ugliness. Another dimension of this rhythmic principle of alternation. Goodness, radiant and triumphant, surrounded by the persistent menace of evil, rugged and refined. Love, full and calculating, struggling ever with violence, fierce and logical. Often in your life, in my life, there is so much that casts down. Often in your life and in my life, there is so little that uplifts and inspires. The contradictions of experience, the manifestation of the principle of alternation, the expression of the rhythmic pattern of life, ebbing and flowing, waxing and waning, the contradictions of experience, how baffling indeed they are. The final vote of man's spirit, for what is that cast? Does the spirit of man accept the contradictions of life as being final and ultimate contradictions? Do you accept the contradictions in your life as being final and ultimate contradictions? Or do you find in those contradictions some eternal drama, endless in interval, complete in meaning? Is the apparent tension of which you are aware but a projection of what takes place deep within yourself, and all that you see is but a reflection of that? Or is there something more here? For what is the final vote of your spirit cast? The growing edge of hope in times of deepest despair? The contradictions now, hope, despair. Do you vote for the growing edge of hope in times of deepest despair, the bold trust, the bold affirmation that the contradictions of life are not final contradictions. All this a man may hold against every possible odd, not merely by willing it and by resolving it, but by a process that is vaster than the operation of the mind and surer than logic, profounder than private plan and personal desire or even personal pride. Finally, if we accept the contradictions of life as being limited contradictions, then all endurance finally glows in radiance. All hope remains forever hopeful, and a man can gaze without panic upon the withering disillusionments and contradictions of his life with quiet eyes and peaceful heart. The contradictions of life are not final contradictions. When we look again at our own lives, we see that we have made errors deliberately and blindly. There have been open doors of truth and guidance and high resolve into which we have not gone and against which we have turned our backs. Little ways in which we have been mean and bitter and harsh and unrelenting in our antagonisms. But if we look more deeply, we discover that there are ways in which our kindness has been so much a part of the normal operation of our lives that we have not been aware that we have been kind. The longings of our spirits for understanding and the sharing of the deep mystery of our lives with many others who've crossed our paths. The little word of cheer and comfort that we have passed on to someone in whose eyes and face we saw the stark anguish of their desolation. We put that over against the error, the false things that we have done. Therefore, we rejoice in the quietness that the contradictions of life are not final contradictions, either in our private lives or on the wide world scale.